Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, we all live with the ticking of the clock. The hands move forward, second by second, minute by minute, hour by hour. Every single tick is a reminder that time is fleeting, and yet how often do we pause and truly realize the preciousness of this moment? We rush through life, chasing dreams, meeting deadlines, making plans for a future that always seems so far ahead. But have you ever stopped to think, what is it costing you in the present? What are you missing right now while you're consumed by what might be, rather than fully living in what is? Time is the one thing we can never get back. No matter how much wealth you accumulate, no matter how much fame you gain, you cannot buy time. And the thing about time is, it doesn't wait for anyone. It moves forward whether we are ready for it or not. The truth is, life doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't need to follow a script. There is no ideal way to live, no perfect path. But the greatest waste of all is to spend even one moment of your life doing things that don't set your soul on fire, things that don't make you feel alive. We often think we have time to fix things, to start over, to be better, kinder, bolder. But time doesn't wait for our convenience. It doesn't pause while we wait for the perfect moment. It just keeps ticking away. The question is not how much time you have, but what you do with it. Every moment is a gift. Every breath is a blessing, and the beauty of life lies in how we choose to fill that time. Are you living, or are you merely existing? We all have struggles, obstacles that feel like mountains too high to climb. We all face challenges that threaten to break us. But don't let those struggles rob you of your time. Don't let fear, doubt, or uncertainty steal your moments. Life will never be free of challenges, but that's exactly what makes it worth living. The courage to keep going, to keep creating, to keep loving, even when the clock seems to be running out. So, I urge you today, don't let your dreams slip by. Don't waste your time waiting for the right moment. The right moment is now. The clock is ticking, and life is waiting for you to step into your own power, to rise above your fears, to live authentically, to love deeply, and to contribute meaningfully to this world. It's not about how many years you live, it's about how much life you put into those years. Don't let your time here be spent in regret or in fear of what could happen. Let it be spent in courage, in action, and in the pursuit of what sets your heart on fire. Remember this, the clock doesn't stop for anyone, but you have the power to make every second count. Time is a concept that many of us take for granted. We live in a world where it feels like there is always more of it, a constant flow of seconds and minutes that seem endless. But the reality is that time is one resource we can never get back. It's the most precious thing we own, and once it's gone forever. No matter how much money we have, no matter how many accomplishments we rack up, we cannot buy more time. The hours slip away, one after another, and before we know it, the days have turned into years. It's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day grind, to think we have time to accomplish everything we want to achieve. We tell ourselves we'll get to that dream, that project, that conversation, that relationship later. We keep postponing and delaying things for a future that we imagine will be better, easier, or somehow more convenient. But in doing so, we miss the value of the present moment. We squander opportunities, thinking that we can catch up tomorrow, only to realize that time waits for no one. The ticking of the clock doesn't slow down because we are busy or distracted. It doesn't stop when we are in pain or struggling. Time simply moves forward, indifferent to our needs, desires, or regrets. The problem with this approach is that it leads to a life of constant postponement. We wait for the right conditions, for the right time, for the perfect opportunity. But the truth is that those moments don't always come. Life doesn't follow a linear timeline of perfection, and waiting for everything to align perfectly can be a trap. The longer we wait, the more we risk missing out on the things that matter most. We might find ourselves looking back one day, realizing that we let so many moments pass by, that we let time slip away, all in the name of a future that may never come in the way we imagined. There's a quiet urgency in every tick of the clock. It's not a loud warning, but it's always there, reminding us that each second is a fleeting gift. Time doesn't care about our plans or our excuses. It keeps moving, keeps going, and it doesn't owe us anything. Every minute that passes is a minute we'll never get back. And while it may seem like time is an abstract concept, it becomes painfully real when we find ourselves at the end of a chapter, reflecting on how much of it we've spent on things that didn't matter, or things we can never undo. The truth is, we cannot control time. We can't make it stop, slow down, or reverse. But we can control how we spend it. And yet, many of us allow it to slip through our fingers. We get caught up in distractions, work, social media, busyness, and forget to make space for what truly matters. We let the clock tick away while we focus on things that don't bring us closer to our dreams, our passions, or our purpose. So, in those moments, we forget that time is a finite resource. There is no endless supply of it. We might tell ourselves that there will always be tomorrow, but tomorrow is never guaranteed. Life can change in the blink of an eye, and when that happens, we find ourselves wishing we had used our time more wisely. We wish we had spent more time with our loved ones, more time pursuing our passions, more time simply living in the present. The problem is that by the time we realize this, the clock has already ticked past those moments, and we are left with nothing but the memories of what we didn't do. The concept of time becomes even more profound when we consider its unpredictable nature. We cannot always predict how much time we have left. It's easy to take for granted that we will have another year, another month, or another day, but that's not a certainty. Life is fragile, and sometimes the time we think we have can vanish in an instant. Whether it's through illness, accident, or simply the passage of age, time doesn't stop for anyone. And when we realize that, it hits us harder than we expect. We understand too late that every single moment we waste is a moment that we can never recover. In light of this, it becomes essential to ask ourselves how we are spending our time. Are we using it to chase after what truly matters to us? Are we investing in the relationships that bring us joy and fulfillment? Or are we spending it on things that are fleeting, that don't leave a lasting impact? It's easy to fill our days with tasks that don't bring us closer to our goals. We fill our schedules with obligations and responsibilities that sometimes don't align with who we are or what we want out of life. And in doing so, we let the clock tick away. And before we realize it, we've spent years on things that didn't serve us. There's a saying that goes, don't count the days, make the days count. This is the essence of living with awareness and intention. Every day is an opportunity to live fully, to embrace what matters, to invest in ourselves and our relationships. It's not about cramming every single moment with activity. It's about being present, being mindful, and making choices that align with our values and our true desires. When we live with intention, we are not just letting time pass us by. We are actively engaging with it, using it to create something meaningful in our lives and the lives of others. One of the most significant ways we waste time is by holding on to regrets. We look back on our past and wish we had made different choices, taken different paths. We waste so much of our present moment reliving what could have been instead of focusing on what is. Regret anchors us to the past, and in doing so, it steals our future. We cannot change what has already happened, but we can control how we move forward. We can choose to use the time we have left to create something new, to take risks, and to live in alignment with our true selves. There is also the trap of comparison. We live in a world that constantly measures success, achievement, and progress. Social media, society, even our own minds. Everything around us is telling us we need to be somewhere, do something, be someone. And we feel like we are running out of time to reach that ideal version of ourselves. The truth is, We don't have to measure our time by someone else's standards. The clock doesn't care about how much we've achieved compared to others. It cares about how we've used the time we've been given. The question we must all ask ourselves is, are we truly living in alignment with what matters most to us? Are we spending our time on the things that bring us closer to our goals, to our happiness, and to our sense of purpose? Or are we letting time slip away because we're waiting for the perfect moment or comparing ourselves to others? Time is a reminder of our mortality. It forces us to confront the fact that we are not infinite, that we are limited in our time here. And while that may seem daunting, it can also be liberating. It can push us to stop procrastinating, to stop wasting time, and to start living the life we've always wanted. When we understand that time is not something we can control or get back, we begin to appreciate its value in a way that changes everything. Every moment becomes a gift. Every second a treasure. We must ask ourselves, how are we going to spend the time we have? How are we going to use the seconds, the minutes, the hours that are ticking away right now? The clock is ticking, and every moment is an opportunity to choose how we will use the time we have left. Let's not waste it. Time is an inevitable force in our lives, and it's something we all face. It doesn't discriminate or pause, no matter what we're going through. Whether we are experiencing moments of joy or hardship, time marches on. And yet, for all its constant presence, time can be one of the most undervalued resources we have. Too often we allow it to slip away, thinking that we have all the time in the world to accomplish what we need to. We assume there will always be more of it, always another opportunity, another day. But the truth is, time can be fleeting and there's no guarantee of tomorrow. We waste so much of it thinking we have an abundance, when in reality, we can never be sure how much we truly have. We live in a world that constantly demands our attention, and in doing so, it can be easy to forget that time is a finite resource. We are constantly bombarded with distractions, work, social media, the busyness of daily life, and before we know it, hours, days, and even weeks can pass without us truly realizing where our time went. We spend time on things that, in the grand scheme of things, don't matter. We let time slip away while we focus on the wrong things, chasing after things that are ultimately unimportant. We let the demands of work, the pressure to succeed, or the need for approval consume us, believing that these things are what give our lives meaning. In the process, we forget that time is the one resource we cannot get back. Once it's gone forever. It is easy to assume that we have more time to take care of the things that really matter to us. We promise ourselves that we'll take that trip, work on that passion project, or spend more time with loved ones. But we keep putting it off, thinking that there will always be a tomorrow, a better day, when everything aligns perfectly. We convince ourselves that we can always catch up later, that there will be time for it all eventually. However, this line of thinking only results in wasted time. Each day that passes is a day that will never come back. And when we look back at our lives, we may find ourselves filled with regret. Not because we didn't accomplish enough, but because we spent so much of our time on things that didn't truly matter to us. Time doesn't stop for anyone. It doesn't care if you're ready, if you feel prepared, or if you're waiting for the right moment. It keeps moving forward, ticking away in the background while you try to keep up. And that is why it is so important to recognize the value of the time we have right now. Every minute that passes is one you can never get back. And that means every decision, every moment of action count. The idea that we can keep pushing things off until later is dangerous because it keeps us stuck in a cycle of waiting and wishing. But time doesn't wait for us to get our act together. It doesn't pause while we try to catch our breath or figure things out. It continues on relentlessly, and if we're not careful, it can pass us by without us truly experiencing the life we want to lead. When we become aware of the fragility of time, it can inspire a sense of urgency. It pushes us to act now, to make the most of the time we have, instead of constantly waiting for the right moment. We can't predict what tomorrow holds, and we certainly don't know when our time will come to an end. That's why it's so important to live in the present, to embrace the now, and stop procrastinating on the things that really matter. If there's something you've been putting off, whether it's pursuing a dream, connecting with a loved one, or making a change in your life, now is the time to start. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when things are better. Right now, because right now is all we truly have. There is no magic moment when everything falls into place. If you wait for the stars to align before you begin, you may be waiting forever. The key is to start with what you have, where you are. Life will never be perfect. Conditions will never be ideal, but that's okay. The most important thing is to take the first step, to stop waiting for things to be just right and start moving forward, even if it's imperfect. Every small action you take moves you closer to where you want to be. The process of moving forward, of engaging with the present, is what ultimately leads to change and progress. The more you wait, the more you delay your own growth, but the more you act, the more you invest in your own potential, and the more you make the most of the time you have. It's not enough to simply be busy or to be occupied with tasks. Busyness can be an illusion, a way of convincing ourselves that we are doing something meaningful when in reality, we are just passing the time. We need to ask ourselves, are we spending our time on things that bring us closer to our goals, to our passions, to the things that matter most? Or are we getting caught up in distractions that prevent us from living the life we truly want? Time is a precious resource, and it's up to us to decide how we spend it. We can spend it chasing after things that don't truly fulfill us, or we can choose to spend it pursuing the things that bring us joy, meaning, and connection. Time may be out of our control, but how we spend it is entirely up to us. We have the power to make choices in the present that shape our future. The trick is not to let time slip away unnoticed, not to let it pass in a blur of routine and distractions. Instead, we must actively engage with the present moment, taking action on the things that matter and living with purpose. Time is a gift, but it's a gift that can be easily wasted if we're not mindful of how we use it. So don't wait, don't put things off, don't let time pass by without truly living. Take action now and make every moment count. In life, we often fall into the trap of believing that we will have more time later. We think that we can always do what matters when we're older, when we're more settled, or when the circumstances are more favorable. This mindset is one of the most common reasons why we fail to live our lives fully. We wait for the perfect moment, the perfect set of circumstances, or the perfect version of ourselves. But life doesn't work like that. Time is constantly moving forward, and if we don't act now, we may find that what we thought we had plenty of time for is suddenly out of reach. We are conditioned to believe that we have all the time in the world, but the reality is we don't. No one knows how much time they have left. We are given a finite amount of it, and every day that passes is one that we can never get back. Yet we often squander it thinking there's always tomorrow to make things right, to start the things we've been putting off, or to take the leap we've been avoiding. But in doing so, we waste precious opportunities to shape the life we want to live. Procrastination is one of the biggest culprits in this process. We convince ourselves that we need to wait until we're ready, that we need to have everything figured out before we begin. But the truth is, no one is ever truly ready. If we wait for the ideal time to start, we may wait forever. Perfection does not exist in real life. Conditions are rarely perfect, and waiting for them to be so only leads to inaction and stagnation. The only time we can control is right now, and yet we continue to delay taking action on the things that matter most to us. How many times have we told ourselves, I'll start tomorrow, or I'll do it next week? We put things off, thinking that there will be a better time later, but that time never comes. Tomorrow turns into next week, and next week turns into next month. And before we know it, months and years have passed, and we're still waiting for the perfect moment. The reality is there is no such thing as the perfect moment. Life is unpredictable, and if we keep waiting for everything to fall into place, we may end up looking back at our lives with regret, wondering why we didn't act sooner. Time doesn't care about our plans. It doesn't wait for us to feel ready, to feel prepared, or to feel like we've mastered everything we need to before we begin. Time moves forward, whether we're ready or not. That's why it's so important to understand that waiting for the right moment is not a form of preparation, it's a form of avoidance. We think that we can avoid failure, avoid discomfort, or avoid mistakes by waiting for the right time. But in reality, it's only by taking action, by stepping into the unknown, that we create the possibility for growth, success, and fulfillment. The key to making the most of our time is to start where we are, with what we have. It doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, it probably won't be perfect. But that's okay. The important thing is that we begin. When we take action, even in the smallest of ways, we start to create momentum. We learn, we adapt, and we move forward. And the more we take action, the more confident we become in our ability to navigate the challenges that come our way. But if we keep waiting for the right moment, we risk getting stuck in the same place, never moving forward, never progressing. Life is short. It's easy to forget this when we're caught up in the day-to-day grind, but it's important to remind ourselves of it regularly. We're all given a limited amount of time, and how we choose to spend that time determines the quality of our lives. If we spend our time waiting for the perfect moment, we'll never truly experience the richness of life. We'll never know what we're capable of, never know what we could have achieved, and never know the depths of joy and fulfillment that come from living fully in the present. There will always be obstacles, there will always be challenges, and there will always be fear. But the way to overcome these obstacles is not by waiting for them to go away or for the perfect circumstances to appear. The way to overcome them is by taking action despite them. When we face challenges head-on, we grow stronger, we build resilience, and we learn that we are capable of much more than we realize. Waiting only keeps us in a state of uncertainty, paralyzed by the fear of the unknown. But when we act, we take control of our lives, and we begin to shape our own destiny. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that we have plenty of time, but the truth is we never know how much time we have left. We never know when life will change or when we will run out of time. That's why it's so important to live with urgency, to recognize the value of the present moment, and to take action now. Don't wait for tomorrow, because tomorrow is not guaranteed. Don't wait for the perfect conditions, because they may never come. Take action today. Do what you can with what you have, where you are. When we look back on our lives, the things we regret most are often not the things we did, but the things we didn't do, the chances we didn't take, the risks we didn't embrace, and the dreams we didn't pursue. Time doesn't wait for anyone, and if we keep waiting for the perfect moment, we will find that time has passed us by. The only way to make the most of the time we have is to live fully in the present, to take action now, and to stop waiting for the right time to live the life we've always dreamed of. We often hear the phrase, "There's no time like the present." And yet, how many of us truly understand its weight? How many of us spend our lives waiting for the perfect moment, for the stars to align, for the conditions to be just right before we take action? We think that the ideal time will come, that one day everything will fall into place, and then we can start living the way we've always wanted. But in doing so, we lose sight of one very crucial truth: the right time is now. The perfect moment is nothing more than a myth we tell ourselves to delay our dreams, to postpone the things that matter most. There is a tendency within all of us to postpone our goals, dreams, and ambitions, thinking that the future will somehow be a better time to begin. We convince ourselves that next week, next month, next year will be when we finally pursue that project, that relationship, that life change. We tell ourselves, when I get this promotion, I'll start focusing on my passion. or once I'm settled, I'll work on my health and well-being. But in reality, there is no perfect moment when everything will align in your favor. Life is unpredictable, and waiting for everything to be just right can lead to missed opportunities and unfulfilled potential. Time doesn't wait for anyone. It moves forward constantly without stopping. The clock doesn't care whether you feel ready, whether you have everything figured out, or whether you have the perfect circumstances. It simply keeps ticking, pushing you along with it. And that is exactly why waiting for the right moment is so dangerous. While you wait for the conditions to change, time slips away. The future you are waiting for is not guaranteed, and the ideal conditions you envision may never come. The only thing you truly have is the present. It's the only moment you can act, the only moment you can shape, and yet, so many of us neglect it, thinking there will be time later. Think about the things in your life that you've put off for another day. Things you said you would do when the time is right. Maybe it's that business idea you've always wanted to pursue, the trip you've been dreaming of, the relationship you've been hesitating to begin. Maybe it's a change in lifestyle, an old habit you've wanted to break, or a passion you've long put on the back burner. How many times have you said, "I'll do it later," only to find yourself still waiting for that perfect moment, still hoping for the conditions to magically fall into place? The truth is, if you keep waiting for everything to be perfect, you may end up waiting your entire life. Life doesn't stop for you to catch up, and it certainly doesn't wait for you to be ready. You have to take the step, even when it feels uncertain, even when the path isn't clear. Starting something now, no matter how small or imperfect it may seem, is far better than waiting for an ideal future. The process of starting, of moving forward, is what makes all the difference. When you take action, you begin to learn, adapt, and grow. You gain clarity by doing, not by waiting. Waiting for the perfect moment only leads to stagnation. You can dream about what you want all day, but until you begin, you won't make any progress. There is no magic moment in the future when everything will be set up perfectly for you to begin. The world doesn't work like that. Instead, you have to create your own momentum in the present. You must start now, even if you don't have all the answers. It's easy to get caught in the trap of thinking that waiting for the right time is a form of preparation. We tell ourselves that we are simply waiting until we are more ready, more capable, or more confident. But the truth is, you will never be 100% ready. You will never have everything you need to make the perfect start. You will always have doubts, always have fears, always feel some level of uncertainty. But that is the nature of growth and change. The more you wait, the more you delay the possibility of that growth. Waiting for the perfect time means postponing your own development, your own progress. Now is the only time you can control. Right now, you have the ability to decide that this moment is enough. You are enough with all your imperfections, your flaws, and your uncertainties. The moment you choose to start is the moment everything begins to shift. And as you begin, the perfect time you've been waiting for will slowly reveal itself. Not because the conditions around you suddenly change, but because you have changed. You've stepped into your power, into your potential, and that shift is the catalyst that will allow you to move forward, no matter the obstacles. The most successful people in life are not those who wait for everything to be just right before they act. They are the ones who take imperfect action, who begin with what they have and trust that the rest will unfold as they move forward. They don't let fear or uncertainty hold them back. They know that waiting doesn't make things better. It only delays progress. Action is what creates momentum, and momentum is what leads to success. It's time to stop waiting for the right moment and start embracing the present. Start where you are. Use what you have. Take the first step, even if it's a small one, because every journey, no matter how great, starts with a single step taken in the present moment. You cannot wait for the perfect time to make things happen. The perfect time is now, and if you keep putting it off, you may find that life has passed you by. The truth is, time doesn't wait for anyone, and it's easy to let it slip through your fingers, waiting for the stars to align. But you don't need the perfect conditions to start. You don't need everything to be in place. What you need is the courage to begin. Once you do, everything else will follow. The right time is now, and the journey starts with the decision to act in the present, not in some distant future. Life is not just about existing, it's about living. And yet so many of us go through the motions day after day, doing what is expected of us, fulfilling our responsibilities, and following a routine that feels almost mechanical. We wake up, go to work, meet obligations, and then go to bed, only to repeat the cycle again the next day. We get so caught up in the demands of life that we forget to truly experience it, to savor the moments that make it meaningful. We are alive, but are we really living? Are we truly engaging with the world around us, or are we merely passing through? When we think about living, we often focus on the big events, the milestones, the achievements, the things that society tells us are important. We set goals to climb the career ladder, acquire material possessions, or gain recognition. These goals are not inherently wrong, but if we allow ourselves to define life by these external measures alone, we miss the deeper purpose of our existence. Life is not about accumulating accolades or checking off a list of accomplishments. It is about finding joy, meaning, and fulfillment in the everyday moments. It's about connecting with others, pursuing passions, and embracing the experiences that bring us joy. Yet, how often do we forget this? How often do we lose sight of what truly matters while chasing after what we think we should want? In our fast-paced world, it's easy to get caught up in the idea of doing without really being. We think that if we keep moving, keep achieving, keep climbing, we will eventually reach a place where we feel content, successful, or complete. But the truth is, this endless pursuit can leave us feeling empty, as if we've been running on a treadmill, making no real progress. We might check off all the boxes, but at the end of the day, we are left wondering if we've missed the point entirely. True fulfillment doesn't come from external accomplishments. It comes from within. It comes from living authentically, from doing what lights us up, and from being present in our relationships and experiences. If we spend all our time chasing after a version of success that society has defined for us, we may end up feeling disconnected from our own hearts, from the things that truly matter to us. Living doesn't mean being free of struggles or challenges. It doesn't mean that every day will be perfect or that we'll never experience pain or difficulty. In fact, some of the most meaningful moments in life come from the struggles we face and the growth we experience as a result. But the key to truly living is in how we approach these challenges. It's about embracing life as it is, rather than waiting for it to be different. It's about finding meaning and purpose even in the difficult moments. We can't control everything that happens to us, but we can control how we respond. When we approach life with intention, when we actively engage with our experiences, we create a life that is rich with purpose, regardless of the obstacles we may face along the way. Many of us spend too much time worrying about what could go wrong or what we might lose, rather than focusing on what we can gain and the experiences we can embrace. We let fear, doubt, and uncertainty dictate our decisions, holding us back from stepping into our fullest potential. But the truth is, fear is a part of life. It will always be there. The question is not whether we feel fear, but how we choose to face it. Will we allow it to paralyze us, or will we acknowledge it and keep moving forward? Life is too short to let fear control us. The only way to truly live is to embrace the discomfort, take risks, and learn along the way. One of the greatest tragedies in life is the realization that we have spent so much time simply existing, waiting for the perfect conditions to begin living. We put off our dreams, our passions, our relationships, thinking that there will be a better time, a time when we have everything figured out. But that time never comes. We are constantly waiting for something to change, our circumstances, our mindset, the world around us. But the truth is, life is always evolving, and there will always be something we can point to as a reason to wait. The truth is, we can't wait for life to happen. We must make it happen. We must take action, even when it's uncomfortable, even when we don't have all the answers. Because if we keep waiting for the right time, we may spend our entire lives waiting. The idea of simply existing can also manifest in our relationships. How often do we take the people in our lives for granted? How many times do we get caught up in our own world, consumed by work, tasks, and responsibilities, only to realize that we haven't been present for the people who matter most? Relationships are what give life its depth and meaning, and yet so many of us neglect them because we are too busy with everything else. We forget that love, connection, and companionship require attention, effort, and presence. True living involves being there for others, cherishing the moments we share with the people who enrich our lives. It means investing in relationships, nurturing them, and making time for those who bring us joy. To truly live is to engage with life on a deeper level. It's about making choices that align with your values and passions rather than simply following the path that has been laid out for you. It's about taking risks, stepping outside of your comfort zone, and learning to embrace the unknown. It's about experiencing life in all its richness, the highs, the lows, the ordinary, and the extraordinary, and finding meaning in every moment. It's about not waiting for tomorrow or for a future that may never come. Life is happening now, and it's up to us to live it to its fullest. When we stop merely existing and start truly living, we create a life that is filled with purpose, connection, and joy. We stop waiting for the perfect moment and start making the most of the present. We embrace the challenges, the messiness, and the beauty of life, knowing that it is in these moments that we find our true selves. Life is not about surviving. It's about thrive. It's about making the most of every moment, living with intention, and fully embracing the journey, no matter where it takes us.